The following program is a production of KSPS Public Television and is made possible by the Friends of Seven. They are the best pianists of their generation. 27 young musicians from 14 countries come together in Calgary, Alberta to share their music, their emotion, their passion. In the second Esther Honens International Piano Competition, see the performances that captivated a city. November 1996. The Alberta prairie offers no defense to the northerly winds chilling Calgary. But things are warming up inside the Palliser Hotel. A drawing is underway for the seating of the 27 contestants of the Esther Honens International Piano Competition. Cheered on by their host families and fellow competitors, each contestant bravely faces their fate and draws their lot from a silver bowl. No one wants to play the very first recital of this contest, so even drawing number 13 is a welcome relief. This talented group of musicians were selected by an international jury from auditions held in Hamburg, Germany, Toronto, New York, and Calgary. Between 21 and 30 years of age, they come from 5 continents, but share a common love of music, incredible physical talent, and a dedication to perfection. Each is hoping this competition will set them apart from the rest of the world stage. Cash prizes for the 5 finalists exceeds $50,000, but the top 3 laureates also receive management assistance, and that's what inspired most of these young performers to enter.
I must say I'm quite impressed with the Esther Honens competition, not only in its organization. For example, the fact that each competitor plays 2 recitals before any elimination is quite an enticing one. And the support that the competition gives to the laureates, the sort of, it's not exactly management, it's more like a looking after, and I think that's wonderful. I think it's a good start for young pianists. I just can't put it any other way.
A good start is exactly what Roger needs, as he has drawn number 1 and plays the first notes of the competition. The looking after he mentioned is a wonderful description of the competition's greatest prize, its Artistic Career Development Program, designed to give these artists' budding performance careers a guiding hand. Andrew Rayburn is president of the Esther Honens competition.
We try and help them to find professional management. We have a certain number of engagements already committed, which will be divided between the 3, and we help them with publicity and promotion. I hope we shall be able to make a recording with each of them, because the experience of recording is one in which the record producer can act as a coach and perhaps elevate the level of their performance and deepen their understanding of the music they're playing. So it's a sort of, and also just to educate them to the way of the musical world, which can be pretty cruel sometimes. And it's quite a thicket through which they need a path cut, and we can help do that.
The first thicket confronting these pianists here and now are the jurors of the competition. A panel of 8 distinguished musicians will be watching and grading each performer from high above the stage. To temper that imposing picture, the Honens competition has gone to great lengths to make these recitals performer-friendly. They've placed perfectly tuned grand pianos of the competitors' choosing onto the stage of the Jack Singer Concert Hall, which has fantastic acoustics. And they've added a polite and receptive Calgary audience.
Whenever you have the opportunity to perform for an audience, it's much more, you feel much more at ease than performing for, just say, a panel of judges sitting there. So that, and you also get the feedback of an audience after you finish playing, which is always gratifying.
I think one of the things the Honens competition tries to emphasize is the audience is here to listen to concerts, that the performers are giving recitals and giving concerts. And that takes a little bit away from the competitive aspect of it and makes it more a musical experience for everyone. I think it's important that there be an audience present and not just the judges. If the judges are there, it is a contest. If the audience is there, it's a concert. Juries are not really interested in those who play the loudest and the fastest and the most brilliant. They're really interested in the artist who's going to have a long-range career in music. And that really amounts to making music, not making a show. And those deeper artists don't often show themselves off in a concerto round, but in the case of the Honens, they have solo rounds and a chamber music round to be able to demonstrate a wider range of their abilities. And I think that the judges have to take into account all three rounds before they're able to give a full portrait of the musician.
I am looking for the complete musician, someone who not only understands the stylistic differences, but it's able to communicate it to us and to an audience, because that's really what their life is going to be, to communicate, to show them their understanding. I like someone who has imagination, but who doesn't indulge. When you go out on the stage to play a concert, it's very different than when you're walking out to judge, to be judged. I haven't forgotten. I did very many, and I am very sympathetic. I think we all are, and we all are also because we're all performers.
As well-reasoned, objective, and mathematical as any judging criteria may be, to most competitors it remains a mysterious voodoo science.
In the supermodel contest, they're always talking about this X factor, which no one can define. Yet, someone like Betty Ford claims that she can spot. And I think judges in music competitions are the same way.
Competitors are free to choose any music they wish for their solo recitals, with one exception. Dance Sauvage was specially commissioned by the Honens competition from Calgary composer Alan Bell.
Well, they wanted something that was challenging to the performers. They also wanted some sections of the piece where the performers have to do some improvisation. And so that is there so that they will have a chance to see what kind of musicians they have. Whether they have musicians who have any imagination at all, or whether they have Olympic athletes.
As its name implies, Dance Sauvage, or wild dance, is a work that exudes untamed energy while exploring what Bell calls a muscular approach to the piano.
The piece itself is an exciting, rhythmic, and energetic work, and it reminded me of like Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, and it was an enjoyable and educational experience to work on a brand new piece like that and see what I could find out of the piece.
As Bell predicted, the requirement for improvisation in the work drew a mixed response.
It's not often that you get asked to go out and make something up, whatever you want, of course related to the piece itself.
I'm not a great lover of contemporary music. I didn't really like the improvisation in this piece, because you have to have this talent for improvising, and I don't think it's necessary for a musician to have this talent.
A professor of music at the University of Calgary, Bell must have skipped a class or two during the competition. He was not about to miss a single performance of Dance Sauvage.
By this afternoon, I'll have heard it 17 times, which is really quite extraordinary. The running joke in the composer community is that the first performance is the easy one to get, the second one's the hardest. So you don't really hear in a concentrated period of time so many different interpretations of the piece. It's really reconfirms for me that music is a living art, and it's a partnership between composer and performer.
The first round of the Esther Honens competition lasted 5 days. Each of the 27 musicians performed twice before the judges. Now 10 will go forward to round 2. 10 happy people will call home to their families tonight and return to the piano bench tomorrow.
I get obsessed sometimes. I practice sometimes like every minute I can. Maybe 7 or 8 hours a day would be average.
We have been listening to him practice a lot, and we've taken him swimming and down for physio and to all his practices, and out for dinner a couple of times. And then in between, he's just practicing all the time.
I realized that I practice the least number of hours, like 3. All the time I wish that I can practice more, except that I have my limitations, and I don't want to go over that.
I don't know what is over-practicing. You can't be perfect.
The piano is not used very much anymore. I'm delighted after a whole week of Rachmaninoff that it's still in one piece.
In 5 minutes, we'll be ready.
Massimiliano Ferrati has just given his last semi-final recital, and he feels great.
Spaghettini from Italy. I brought with me. You know. I was not sure that here I could find a supermarket of spaghetti.
To celebrate, he's cooking dinner for his host family, Sharon and Merrick Young, and daughters Andrea and Justine.
Good. Justine, please take other bacon and cutlery.
This knife isn't very good, and not very sharp.
Not very sharp.
A terrific side benefit of the Honens competition is the relationships that are created between competitors and their hosts.
Bravo! Grazie. Taste before say bravo.
It's an emotionally charged 3 weeks, and bonds form quickly.
Great!
They are prepared for the hours of practicing. They're also prepared ahead of time for perhaps a letdown if their competitor does not get in. And that has been something that some of the host homes, I don't think, realized would be such high intensity for themselves to experience. They're almost more nervous than their competitor.
I feel like when she's on stage, like I'm breathing every breath and sort of being with her at, every little bit of it, because I know and I've seen the incredible commitment and dedication and that's gone into it, and the incredible talent. And it just takes like one little slip or one little maybe memory lapse or something like that to throw a performer, or it could possibly throw a performer. And so, you're just waiting like this, hoping that it just goes all the way through, because she's so talented and so great.
Doing a lot of hyperventilating in that hall. A couple of times we've sucked all the air out of the hall.
Cameron and Carolyn McLean are hosts to Bernadette Balkus of Australia.
They've just been a remarkable support. I would never have expected such support from them. They've been with me when I haven't been feeling so good, and they've shared my joy when I've been feeling good. They've been very willing to give me their energy. It takes a ton of energy to have someone like me in their house full time.
We've had the privilege of hosting a world-class performer in our home, and it's been a real privilege. It's like taking care of a thoroughbred.
We just knew that we were welcoming someone into our home and helping them to compete and providing all the things that we think would be necessary for a young person to deal with when they're under pressure. So we provide their food, of course, and travel and quiet time and talk time and anything really that they want.
As generous as they are, host families can't provide everything their guests need.
Well, for me, it's very difficult to speak English all the time. And sometimes, for example, in the evening, I feel that I just want to speak Russian with someone. So I just phone Yuri and say, "Oh, Yuri, hello, please speak to me."
Albert, too, is a guest of Linda Tay and daughter Rowana, an aspiring pianist herself. Here, Albert is well looked after.
Sitting there quietly doing the crossword, and then I'm not really that nervous, but my husband was the one that made sure that, Albert, how come you didn't practice?
Which is really funny because he tells me, you practiced enough. Why are you practicing 2 hours? What a waste of time. You don't need to practice that much. But with Albert, he was saying, don't you think you need to practice?
Of course, we are hoping that he did his best. And also, we like to have a winner in our family. Yeah, I remember when he performed with the chamber music, I really enjoyed so much until I have to say, bravo!
Regardless of the outcome of the piano competition, each of the young musicians competing here will return to their homes richer for the experience, bearing the admiration of their hosts and friendships that will last a lifetime.
I'm going to toast the chef. For this performance, he's going to straight to the finals.
This performance. Okay.
Pianists grow up in a solitary environment. You don't have to make music with others in order to play the piano. But I think it's important when you're a musician to know that you're part of a larger musical world.
The St. Lawrence String Quartet members are no strangers to competitions, nor unaware of their importance to young artists. Since winning the Banff International String Quartet Competition in 1992, they have toured the globe and performed at the White House. Today, they rehearse with Albert II, just hours before his chamber performance. Each semi-finalist gets 3 hours of rehearsal with the quartet, add another hour for each performance, and you've squeezed 40 intense hours of playing into 5 days of the competition.
And the thing that makes it particularly tough, just physically, is that the size of the piano. You know, you're on stage and you're fighting at a 9-foot beast, and so you're creating, you're basically playing at the absolute maximum physical output.
Even if you've rehearsed for 8 hours, you have to make sure that your 9th hour with that person is as good as the first hour, because it's their only chance.
It was really fun working with them because they, as a group, they were really working as one, and so it was as if I was working with one and not 4 individuals. So they were very inspiring too. The things they suggested always made sense, and I didn't know this work very well before I came, so I needed all the input from them, and I think it helped.
In some ways, it's more difficult than solo recitals because, for example, if you play solo or if you play with the orchestra, a concerto for piano and orchestra, you are still the soloist, and the orchestra have to follow you. And when you play chamber, there are, for example, in quintet, there are 5 equal musicians, and pianist is not soloist, so you also have to care about other persons in chamber music.
You've got to take into consideration balance, and you're no longer the real star, but you all work together. You've got to have eye contact, you've got to know the quartet's part very, very well, and almost know your part from memory, so you can be looking around.
It's very important for a well-rounded musician to be able to collaborate with other musicians. So how they're able to still have their personalities, but blend with the quintet is very important, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Tremendous, Albert.
artists are really dependent on the quality of the instrument that you give them. And it's a very difficult position for them to be in. And it's a responsibility when you're working for them.
Carl Roeder is a concert technician for Steinway & Sons of New York. Just as the competition has narrowed the field of contestants, it has also narrowed the pianos they are using to 2 Steinways, one American, one Hamburg.
Well, with these 2 particular pianos, the American piano has got a sort of a larger tone, not quite as brilliant. The Hamburg piano is very brilliant, and it just suits different people differently. We bring both because artists, of course, are not only used to playing the one. Particularly our European competitors are used to seeing the German piano, so we like to offer them the choice.
Carl hovers around backstage like an emergency room doctor. He's there for every performance, from the first solo recital to the final concerto 3 weeks later. He can also be found on the stage of Jack Singer Hall in the quiet hours before the first day's performance.
The action's made up of 88 keys, which all have, 60 to 90 parts in them. And part of what I do day to day in a competition like this is sort of go through the action, trying to find note by note what sounds different, what feels different, and try to make sure that everything responds not only, the same way it did yesterday, but also make sure that it's working as well as it possibly can. It's important that the sound of the piano overall not change dramatically throughout the competition. The technique of producing sound on a piano is far more varied than you might think. You sort of look at the mechanism and you go, the key goes up and down. There's a limit to what you can do with it. But actually, there are thousands of shadings that pianists at this level can attain with just touch. The way that they touch the key is entirely unique to pianists.
Carl's everyday job is a music lover's dream, working the concert halls and recording studios of New York City. From Broadway to Carnegie Hall, he hears the world's greatest entertainers perform nightly. And there, one night in the not-too-distant future, he'll hear again an artist he's heard this month in Calgary.
I see something in everybody who plays. There have been the most amazing performances. It's tough in the concert department at Steinway to think about doing anything else because I get to hear the most amazing music. I get to meet people who are the best in the world at what they do. And in some small way, maybe you can even help them do what they do.
Albert II's chamber recital brings the semi-final round to a close, and the judges immediately convene to choose the 5 finalists of the competition. Competitors and their supporters stake out the lobby, wondering who among them will go on. The night drags on, but finally the judges have their decisions. Everyone heads to the hall hopeful, but only 5 return jubilant. Host families are there to share their joy, and even to break the news to home. Celebrations must be short. Rehearsals begin in the morning.
It's very difficult for orchestra.
Yes, I know. How are we going to do it?
Just hours after the announcement of his place in the finals, Yuri Bogdanov is rehearsing his concerto with Maestro Mario Bernardi. Canadian-born Bernardi is conductor laureate of the Calgary Philharmonic and an internationally recognized opera conductor. His advice and instruction will temper all the young performers' inexperience in playing with an orchestra.
Just listen to where they are.
Of course. Yeah.
And you accompany them.
I listen.
Yeah.
Such a skilled soloist, Yuri seems insensitive to what the orchestra will be playing. Bernardi encourages him to listen and to pay attention to the orchestra's tempo.
Even though they don't play when you play, but they must know that this is third beat so that they know when to play.
Once more, maybe.
Yeah.
Sometime during the rehearsal, they realize that both of them speak French. Communication becomes more relaxed and progress quickens. The hour goes quickly until an excited young pianist must leave to continue practicing at home.
Oui, merci beaucoup.
Each of the finalists gets 1 hour of individual instruction with Maestro Bernardi. Albert, too, is next.
Just a session for him to find out how I perform that work and how I am as a musician.
Sometimes I think the musicality is the same as saying predictability or inevitability.
But if any competitor has an inside track with this conductor, it's Massimiliano Ferrati of Italy.
Ci guardiamo, io...
Sì, ma lo fai in tempo? Non fa niente là?
Non faccio... Un leggero ritenuto per aspettare lei forse, ma non è problema.
No, se lo fa per quello non... Questo è un tempo un po' meno?
Meno, sì. Sì, io adesso ho bisogno di un po' di tempo per riprenderlo.
Perché sono impegnato?
Certo, per un mese con altre cose, però ho suonato 2 anni fa con l'orchestra, poi non ho più suonato, quindi adesso queste prove mi serviranno molto per rientrare nell'ambiente.
Appunto, anche trovare proprio le sottigliezze è molto difficile. Questo è il più difficile lavoro di tutti.
Sì? Per lei sì?
Certo. Anni.
Che esperienza unica. Non mi pare vero.
Bisogna venire fino a...
On the last evening of the competition, while performing the Chopin Piano Concerto, Massimilio Ferrati experienced every musician's nightmare. He lost his place in the score. Knowing his mistake cost him a chance to win, he recovered to finish the performance masterfully. Now he is left to answer the questions of why and how.
So I in my mind, I said, now I have to do very better than before, because I have to donate, to give a beauty moment after this accident, you know.
And to console those who have come to console him.
So sorry for you.
No.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the distinguished members of the jury, I have the honor to announce the artists who will receive special prizes and the laureates of the second Esther Honens Calgary International Piano Competition. The 5th prize goes to Massimiliano Ferrati from Italy. The 4th prize goes to Yuri Bogdanov from Russia. The jury awarded no 3rd prize. Instead, it has awarded 2 second prizes. They go equally to Albert Chur from the Philippines and Eugene Watanabe from the United States. And the 1st prize goes to Maxim Filipov from Russia.
We have heard, really, over the last 3 weeks, 27 of the finest concert pianists of their generation, and we mustn't forget that. And it's my hope that the laureates who will be chosen will be musicians who will be on the concert stage and highly respected in 15 and 20 years, and will be some of the great masters of their time.
Esther Honens was not a famous musician or powerful politician, but she was a tremendous patron of the performing arts in Calgary. Her greatest wish before she died was to create a piano competition that would not only benefit its young winners, but the city she loved as well. The festival surrounding the Honens competition brings music to every Calgarian, to shopping centers, offices, parks, and schools. It has allied performing arts with business and government. Esther's dream has enriched the cultural life of Canada and the United States and helped to encourage a new generation of concert musicians.